Shareholder meetings don't typically get a lot of fanfare, but for the Twitter annual shareholder meeting on May 25th, there was a lot of buzz, and that's, of course, because of Elon Musk. Now, as you may remember, on April 14th, the billionaire made an offer to buy Twitter after disclosing that he had amassed a majority share in the company. Now, the move and all the subsequent developments of this have sparked a lot of discourse, and I think have a lot of investors wondering, has Elon bitten off more than he can chew here? Now, here with me to break all this down is IBD tech reporter Brian Deegan. He's been following this entire saga. And Brian, you've done a lot of reporting on this. And before we kind of delve into the strategy here, can we take a step back and remind us just exactly who Elon Musk is and what exactly are the companies that he's running at the moment?
Yeah, well, Elon Musk is like that guy in the old commercials, the most interesting man in the world. That's Elon Musk. He's the most interesting man in the world. Never known anyone quite like him. I actually met him. I met him 19 years ago. I've been in awe of everything he does. But so just to what he's doing now, most of you already know. Tesla, one of the greatest car companies ever created. SpaceX, one of the greatest space companies ever created. Now he's going after Twitter, which seems rather strange to me because Twitter has nothing to do with any of his other businesses. But but the bottom line is he got where he is today, all self-made, and he's the richest man in the world.
Yeah, and I thought an interesting point that you made in your reporting, it's not only SpaceX and Tesla, but he's also got a couple of these other companies like Neuralink and the Boring Company. They all seem to kind of fit within this mission of, saving humanity, and particularly with this mission to Mars that we all know that he's been very heavily involved with. Can you get a little bit then into this Twitter deal and how that fits into this overall strategy?
Right. So somebody pointed out to me that everything Elon Musk has done is in one way or another connected to his biggest dream of all, which when he first said it to me, I thought he was ludicrous. And that was a mission to Mars, that he wants to create a colony on Mars. He's deadly serious about that. And so far he's on the way. He thinks it might be a year or two before we plant human feet on there. And, and he also has the Boring Company, which is digging tunnels. And when you think about it, if you got that machine to Mars, you would need to dig tunnels into Mars. With Tesla, he's got solar panels, and he's got a satellite constellation. So when the announcement was made that he was going after Twitter, I just thought it was really puzzling because it doesn't fit with anything else unless you want to micro tweet on Mars. So it made me wonder, what is his interest here? It was a couple of months ago, Elon started sending out these cryptic tweets polling his fans, of which there are 92 million of them, followers at least on Twitter. Their views were on free speech and whether or not Twitter should be more open in that regard. Of course, they all said yes. And it was only a couple of weeks after that he launched his bid for Twitter. And I was wondering, is this like a $44 billion play toy for Elon Musk?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the human need to cyberbully is probably going to translate no matter what planet we're on. But, looking at your article, it's not like Elon's the first person to run different companies at the same time. You took a look at a couple of other multitasking CEOs like Steve Jobs and Jack Dorsey, who was the former Twitter head. So can you talk a little bit about what you learned from those examples and some of the experts that you spoke to about maybe why spreading yourself too thin in this area isn't particularly the best leadership move?
Right. Steve Jobs is the most popular dual CEO. He ran both Apple and Pixar for a year, and it was in his autobiography that was the hardest thing he had ever done, and he did not recommend anybody do it. What's interesting to me, Jack Dorsey, before he started to run two companies at the same time, he actually went to Elon Musk and asked Elon Musk what he thought about him running Square and Twitter. And Elon Musk said, it's not a good idea. I wouldn't do it. You're going to lose out on vacation time. Okay, but that's what he said. So here's, Elon giving the advice, don't do it, but he goes and does it himself. And my intent on working on the story originally was to ask the question: is he burning out? Is he burning the candles at both ends, and is he going to fry? One of the problems that can emerge when you're doing this, according to the people that I talked to, perhaps the biggest sin of all is what he said was micromanaging, which he described as the attitude of "I'm great and you're not. Therefore, I can't trust you to do the job right. So I'm going to do everything on my own." And the man I interviewed on that said it never turns out well when they micromanage. And it happened, and it doesn't matter what field you're in: sports, business, politics. There are these micromanagers who ultimately are going to crash and burn, according to this one guy.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's not just the tweets, but there's also just been a lot of interesting maneuvers as far as he was on the board, then he wasn't on the board, the deal was moving forward, and now it's on hold. There just seems to be a lot of back and forth. And as you've mentioned, he's got these other companies, Tesla being the big one that investors are paying attention to. And, I'll be interested to point out that Wedbush analyst Dan Ives said in a May 23rd note to investors that this whole deal has really become a circus show that's become an overhang on Tesla's stock. And he said it was basically a black eye for Elon Musk and how he's handled all of this so far. So I guess my question would be, do you agree with Dan Ives' assessment here? And what exactly has this done to Tesla stock since this whole takeover deal was first announced?
If you're a Tesla shareholder, you are not a happy person, because Tesla has been one of the most watched and talked about stocks in a decade. It is a huge following. People have become millionaires off the stock. But now, ever since Musk made his bid for Twitter, Tesla stock has dropped about 42%, and Elon's wealth has shrunk by about 98 billion. So it's been a disaster for Tesla share owners, and that's partly because Musk is using that stock as collateral for loans that he wants to take, and he's been in a position where he's had to sell stock. And so not only is it hurting the shareholders, some people are beginning to wonder, hey, Elon, when are you coming back to Tesla? Get off the smartphone and stop tweeting and come back home.
Right. And, this isn't the first time Twitter has gotten him in trouble, so to speak. But, we're obviously going to be seeing a lot about this deal unfolding in the coming days and weeks. And I would say for viewers who want all the up-to-date information on that, you can always check on investors.com. But, it's not like this is all happening in a vacuum. We're obviously having a lot of volatility in the market this year. Snapchat had some very poor earnings results that seem to kind of be the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for this sector. What's your take on how Snap's earnings bode for this deal going forward as expected, and kind of the social media industry as a whole?
Right. And I should have noted previously what you just did in regards to with the stock market and correction. In regards to Snap, you used my phrase, canary in the coal mine. That's the reason being is Snap is about 98% dependent on advertising. And advertising is one of the first things to get cut in the downturn. So when Snap said, hey guys, we're having problems, that's a wake-up call. Who's next? That would include Facebook, Google, Pinterest, and others that are dependent on advertising.
No, and I think that's a great place to leave it. Brian, thank you so much for your insights today.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. And you can follow all of our coverage on this over at investors.com. For Investors Business Daily, I'm Alexis Garcia.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Investors Business Daily on YouTube. If you want to watch more videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.